Hi Shiva, Ranjit has joined.
Hello.
Shiva, can you hear me?
Yeah, Ranjit here.
Yeah, Ranjit. Shiva, can you hear me? We are not able to hear you. Shiva.
Hey Ranjit.
Hey, hello, Shiva. Hi, Sharad.
Hey.
Hi Sharad. Shiva, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, you can't hear me?
We can hear you, Sharad. We can hear you, Ranjit. Shiva, we cannot hear you.
That's what I thought. How can you not hear me?
Yeah, you are very loud and clear, Sharad.
He's just going to relog in again. You can hear me now, right? Ranjit and
Yes,
Sharad?
I
Yeah.
can. I can.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can hear
sure.
you.
Yeah, sure. We'll just
Sharad,
start in another 2 minutes.
can you see me? I'm not see.
Yeah, we can see you. See you perfectly fine.
I
Yes,
can. I can't see my own video. Looks like.
we'll just remove this banner in another minute
You
because we
must
are
be
also
on.
we're also
You
live
must
on
be on.
YouTube.
Okay.
Warm
So
welcome,
again-
gentlemen. Good morning to both of you.
Hey,
Hey,
good morning,
Shiva.
Shiva.
So I would like to invite both of you on our series of Unemployed India is not a free India. Going on that context, today I invite both of you to discuss on the topic, how would be the impact on the future of jobs or impact of COVID on future of jobs. Having said that, I would like to first introduce Sharat Gulla. Sharat, currently he's employed with RBL as an executive vice president. He's currently handling procurement, real estate, project, and vendor governance within RBL. Prior to RBL, Sharat has been associated with other banking industries like IDFC, Bank of America, and HSBC, and he had a stint with a couple of IT organizations like Microsoft and Allison. I would like to introduce Ranjit. Ranjit is part of the Volvo Group as a recruitment director for Asia Pacific. By and large, Ranjit has been handling the roadmap for recruitment. He's been driving strategy within Volvo for the Asia Pac regions. And prior to Volvo, Ranjit was associated with organizations like Wipro, Capgemini, and Epsilon. A warm welcome to both of you and hope to have a very fruitful discussion on the current topic. So my first question to Sharat, it goes, how has COVID impacted your industry and the organization in general? Sharat, you're on mute.
Sorry. So I was saying banking, as we all know, is a very regulated environment. We have RBI, we have Finance Ministry, a couple of other stuff, which allow a lot of stuff to do it. So it was an eye-opener for all of us that as a banking industry, people can work from home and still execute everything. There were a lot of exceptions, and there were a lot of leeways being given by the RBI so that people can access a lot of systems at home and move around with that. So that, I think, from a banking point of view, that was a very key observation or very key stuff which happened for the entire financial industry. It was challenging. We had to set up a lot of systems. We had to bring in a lot of firewalls. We had to organize a lot of laptops, desktops, sending back home so that people can start moving, because we all know that banking never got shut for a single day. It was part of the essential services. ATMs were working, branches were opening, transactions are happening, and you will be surprised, we did not see even a lull in the transaction. So people were transacting. So I would say people still have a lot of money to work around and spend around.
So does that mean that you didn't have an impact of COVID at all?
No, we do have an impact in terms of, see, it's a cycle. No industry can work in a silo. It's a chain reaction. One company goes down. Banking main focus is lending and deposits. So when there is no lending happening, the companies are not manufacturing. Companies are not having stuff happening around. So the entire circle goes for a churn. I was talking from a working point of view. Yes, working point of view, we were able to do it. But as an industry, we all know governments came out with a lot of monat around stuff, how they can give leverage to people who have taken loans, the reclassification of NPAs and all this stuff. So all those things happened around that.
Ranjit, if I was to extend the same question, I mean, you've been in the manufacturing side. I know manufacturing has taken a major hit during the COVID. How do you think it has impacted your industry, this COVID situation?
Yeah, it had a big impact actually, and I would like to say that it has good and bad, side of that. Now, automotive industries where around 8 million people work worldwide, and it is a huge industry for most of the countries. And in India, the one side of that is that automotive industry has been preparing for a recession last 2 years. 2018 onwards, trend was very clear that world is going towards a recession, and it was only a matter of time when it would hit us. So industry was preparing for this, and especially organization like mine, which has more than 60 years of experience in this, different cycles of business, we have been preparing well for this. And COVID, how did it impact? The major impact are in two areas. One is on the sales, and another is on the supply chain. So being a manufacturing industry, it has supply chain is one big factor. Even if you are ready to sell your products, but if your supply chain is disrupted, then it is all a full stop. So two way it has impacted. One is the sales. Globally, sales has come down at least for 30% in most of the for most of the companies. And another important factor is that India has been importing a lot of components from China. Around 4.5 billion is the USD is the worth of components India is importing from China. So COVID, when it started, it had a huge impact on the supply chain. It hit that root of the whole supply chain. So that was a big impact. And 4.5 billion is not a small thing. It's a huge, huge impact on the whole supply chain. Very, very, very key components like fuel injection pumps, EGR modules, electronic components, turbochargers, airbags, all these were imported from China. So without this, no vehicle runs. So it is a huge impact. And I have also spoken about the good effect. So good effect is, one is that it has given us a new direction, which means we cannot depend only on one country or one geography for the supply chain. And with all the changes happening and Atmanirbhar and
I would like to interrupt there, because that probably we could look at the major initiatives taken. But from a banking point of view, Sharad, if I was to ask you, what are the initiatives the banking industry is taking to mitigate the impacts of COVID?
So there are a lot of stuff which is happening around. There's a lot of contribution which is happening from the government also. If you see, they have come out with monetization where they said, okay, fine, lenders can classify that the people who have borrowed the money because of this whole stuff which is going around, the sales are not happening. Like Ranjit said, that there's no supply chain moving around. So people will have difficulties in paying off the loans which have taken from the bank. So the government came forward. So as a banking industry, we aligned ourselves to that. We gave options to people to select for monetization. I'm sure all of us know that as a blanket, it was given to all of them, whether you can pay your EMIs, you cannot pay your EMIs. And if you cannot pay your EMIs, you have an option of picking that up and do a delayed EMI. So I think as an industry, that is what we worked around when it comes to the customers is concerned. The collections went down a little because, again, like I said, a lot of people opted for Monat. They, as an industry, they said that we'll move ahead with that. From an employee point of view, I think the impact was pretty pretty stable. if we talk about job cuts and all this stuff, I think the financial industry is one of the least industries who was impacted that, like I said, because the offices were open, the work was happening, there was no impact coming around that. If I talk about specifically with regard to the portfolio which I'm managing, which is procurement and real estate portfolio and admin and all the stuff, there is a big impact. People not going to offices are shut. There are discussions going around with the landlords to understand how you can renegotiate on that. There's a lot of space which is under build up, which has been put on hold. So there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of builders, a lot of these IPCs have been really coming out with new ideas how they can help back end to that. So it's not only the banking, but I would say like all other industries, all other companies where people are not coming to office.
If you're able to throw some light on what are the special initiatives that you're taking on technology or on real estate or on your operations, it will be of great help.
So from a technology point of view, I think we have seen a lot of push going around that, a lot of transactions happening online. People interface, people have started using that. There was a lot of push and a pull, which both happened. Our apps have been utilized pretty well. The UPI platforms and all the online platforms have been pretty good. In terms of real estate, yes, again, impact on the banking, I would say is very limited because all the branches and everything have been open. But per se, if we talk about as an industry, there has been a lot of restructuring of the deals which has happened. There's a lot of discussions around how the rental needs to be paid now, rental needs to be paid later. There's a lot of stuff around that is happening.
Ranjit, if I was to extend the same question to you, Volvo, I know it's pretty large manufacturing organization, and you've said your dependency on certain geography has been pretty high. What are the special initiatives that your organization or your industry is looking at to minimize the risks of this COVID?
So overall, the response has been focused on the 4 areas. One is about how to protect employees, how to handle colleague safety. That was the primary focus. And then second was on the customers. Third was cash, how to have the liquidity, etc. And the engagement with society. These are the 4 areas which we have been focusing. And employee engagement and employee safety, we have taken the required precautions. And the response was initially to shut down the whole factory as well as the offices. But then later on, we have created guidelines on employee safety and who can come to office and how do we handle the shifts, etc. This is taken care of, keeping in mind social distancing. And then second part was about keeping employees engaged and motivated, morale of the employees. So for that, some of the things which we did was to ensure that the bonus payment which was due at that time, it is paid, and also the increment was given to the employees, most of the employees. So this kept that part safe. And then in terms of the customers, it was continuous engagement with the customers, ensuring that we have aligned to the businesses, review of the business community, business continuity, and co-working guidelines, and how do we ensure that whatever commitments are done is met, and supplier stability is another factor.
But from a technology point of view, Ranjit, or a supply chain point of view, are there some large initiatives that your organization is taking?
At this point of time, we are not looking at any major reshuffling of that. But we are ensuring that we are taking necessary precautions to ensure that supply is not disturbed in the future.
Okay. Now, my question to Sharad again, I know we've been living with COVID, since March 15th or March 22, the official lockdown happened. We're almost about 5 months into COVID. But how do you think, the job market is reacting? Is it come to the normal times pre-COVID, or you are seeing the lull period still continuing?
So my personal view, I think the lull period has been in some areas where the recruitment has gone slow. where the organizations thought, let's wait and watch, let's see how the situation works around, let's reassess our existing resources, because the focus has been we should take care of resources internally rather than having people hire from outside right now. Like Ranjit said, retaining the talent. I think that was the key stuff. And from that point of view, I would say the position is pretty stable right now. The reassessments have been happening in across in when I speak to other peer levels in other companies and all this stuff. So especially when we talk about procurement, real estate kind of areas, these are the areas which are going to be I have to say will be in demand, because with the cost optimization coming in, with a lot of focus on cost savings and a lot of companies ensuring that the human resources do not get impacted. So there'll be a lot of initiatives to see that how the cost can be brought down. Number one. Number two, if we talk about pre-COVID, post-COVID, uh, it's still a cycle. It's still we need to wait and watch, because what has happened in my view is that the slowdown has happened, but the shutdown has not happened. So while there were a lot of places where there was no movement happening at all, like if we talk about retail, if we talk about malls and all the stuff, and we talk about people walking out and spending on the weekends and everything, the spend has come down. But if you see the trend which is coming in the last, I would say 30 days or 45 days, when we talk about the spend happening, it is coming back to the same pre-COVID level. It's almost reached to 60, 70% of that, which is a good sign. Once that is stabilizing at about 70, 80, 90% of for another period of 30, 40 days, I would say the job creation will automatically fall in place.
Yeah, I mean, just to throw some data, we at Team Leads are seeing a surge of about 5 to 7% from previous months, especially in the IT hiring. If I was to compare from July to August, we are seeing a surge of about 10 to 15% than the average hiring what we have done from last month. Now,
and sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
cut you.
Go ahead, sir.
That's exactly my point. So what happens is now people will start understanding that people are coming back to normal. Things are coming back to normal. So what their plans were, they will reopen on that. It's not only in terms of creating and managing BAU, but the futures which they had expected, that they will launch new products, new services, new stuff, new technology. You see the recent example of Amazon sale which they did. I think they had a huge success, and we're talking about people, again, coming back to my initial stuff, people not having money to spend. I think people have consolidated money in the last 4 or 5 months, and they would like to spend now.
Right. So if I was to extend this question to Ranjit, how is the manufacturing industry reacting? Do you think the job creation has gone up, or it's still the lull period continues in the manufacturing side?
Sure. So luckily, we were initially thinking that it would be a long period of lull, but luckily the recent data shows that we are taking a V-turn. We initially thought it would be a U-turn, but then looks like it is going to be a V-turn, where we are coming back very strongly. If you look at the recent data which is published, July last year to this year comparatively, Maruti has actually, some of the companies like Maruti has done better than the last year. So passenger car segment is doing well. Companies will produce more profitable vehicles like SUVs and small cars, and then the demand is going up in that area. And the light trucks is another example where globally there is a increase in the demand for light trucks. So passenger cars, I think it will improve. And it is too early to comment on anything, but at this point of time, looking at the data of July, most of the companies have done as good as last year. So it is a sharp coming back. But there are certain signals where what the new world is going to be in the automotive domain. One is that more profitable vehicles like SUVs, whereas smaller cars has less margin, but SUVs and bigger cars would have bigger margin. So that way, that is coming back, and the demand in India market for SUV is high. Similarly, electric cars. If you look at the sales of electric cars, how it has gone down, it is not as much as the other vehicles. It is only 30% it has reduced, and it is coming back slowly. So that way it is coming back. And July data is very positive, very encouraging.
So I mean, if I was to look at from an IT point of view, both Sharath and Ranjit, what we have seen is we have seen a surge, especially in the hiring on the banking side, on the pharma side. You know, we've seen really the growth coming, especially in these two industries. Retail is just picking up, but I think, having said that, you know, from an IT point of view, if I was to talk, we are seeing skills in data science, we're seeing skills in artificial intelligence, you know, skills going up. But from your industry point of view, from a banking industry point of view, what skills do you think would be in demand, Sharad?
So, Shiva, if you see in the last 4 to 5 years, or probably a little more than that, 8, 9 years, not a decade yet, banking industry has gone through a total churn. From a traditional banking, they have got into a lot of digitalization, especially the focus coming after demonetization, which happened. A lot of people moved to technology, and a lot of enablements happened after that. Especially after that, the focus has been there. So nowadays, a bank, as any bank, if they're not technology savvy, it is very difficult for them to survive in the industry. Number one. Number two, majority of the young population which is coming out in the last 5-10 years, they themselves are very tech savvy, you know, with the kind of gadgets which are coming up, the kind of apps coming up, the kind of technology being moving around. It is very important. So yes, from a banking point of view, our focus will be on technology, trying to see how we can invest more and more to simplify things for the customers, how we can create more banking easy for the customers, not visiting to the branches, doing a lot of stuff on their own. Who would have imagined, getting a transaction done at 2 o'clock in the morning? But in the last 4-5 years, the way the regulatory has also opened the transaction, the IMPS transactions and everything. Prior to that, it was only TK banking asked me, you do it, and then you're done with that. So I think a lot of focus will be on technology, a lot of focus will be on innovation. The companies who are into the space of, like you said, artificial intelligence, robotics, and all this stuff, which is going to come up, is my view. But at the same time, the last mile has to be on human touch. So no matter how much technology we're trying to put across, it has to be, at the end of the day, somebody has to be there to execute it. So while there will be a lot of focus on technology, I don't think that will have a direct impact on people not getting employed or jobs not getting created. I think the jobs will get more interesting.
Okay. So if I was to say, I mean, Ranjit, you can take this question. I think from an industry point of view, because you guys are senior folks in the industry, you know, you deal with a lot of policymakers, you deal with a lot of industry leaders. I think what should you know the industry doing for creating more jobs?
So in the future in the automotive domain especially is very very dramatic changes are expected in this domain with automotive domain, autonomous vehicles, and vehicles which can talk to each other, vehicles which are running on electricity than the traditional fuel. So there is a lot of changes happening in this area, and some of the areas which will become very important is data privacy, security, safety of these vehicles, etc. And also there are some trends which are coming up, like advanced materials are required to ensure the safety, and automated driving and connectivity is important, and 3D printing is important, product design and development is important. So there is a dramatic change which is happening in the so policymakers and the companies and the supporting infrastructure and supporting industries will have to look at how do we create engineers, how do we create skilled workforce in these domains which will cater to the future. So if we continue, engineering colleges continue to produce mechanical engineers, maybe yes, they are not going to go jobless, but then a combination of electrical and mechanical or mechatronics would have a better chance. So we will have to move towards such kind of areas, and data related area is going to go up. Data privacy, importance of understanding analytics is going to be very high. So industry and as well as the colleges and policymakers will have to think about how do we look at these kind of skills and promote that. Otherwise, we will continue to be in the job, but in the back end. Maybe low quality work will have to be done by the people, but then if you know these technologies which are coming up, which are useful, it will make a big change. And with this cost consciousness across the globe, US and Europe looking at moving high quality work to India, we will have to look at ensuring engineers are equipped with this kind of skills.
So, Sharad, now you both come from two diversified industries, one coming from banking and real estate, the other from pure hardcore manufacturing. But between both of your industries, do you think the role for digital is going to play a big place post-COVID?
Yes, especially in the banking industry, yes, it will play. Like I was saying, the innovations, making banking easy, making transactions easy for customers, sitting at home, not visiting, not calling anyone. So all that can only be enabled if there is an entire workforce or an engine which is playing backend. We spoke about artificial intelligence. What are the key areas? Like if I am logging in, how intelligent the system needs to be to recognize that yes, there is nothing happening, because the core, which especially in the financial industry, as we all know, is the the cyber crime and all this stuff. How do we build in all those channels? How do we build in all those firewalls? How do we ensure that all those stuff has been taken care of? So digitally, yes, not in terms of only data, but in terms of technology, I think the both will play a role.
Okay. Can you throw some light, Ranjit, from a digital contribution on the manufacturing side, especially in organizations like Volvo? I know you've been heading recruitments across the platforms within Volvo. If you can throw some light, that'd be great.
Surely. My view is that COVID has only increased the pace at which this digitalization was happening in the industry. So earlier, we were reluctant whether this would work or not work. The decision making was very slow, but COVID has made the decision which would have taken a year in 2 days time. So these decisions were taken in 2 days or 3 days, and then we have moved ahead. And going forward, we have learned that currently with the COVID, we have learned that we can trust the teams to work remotely as a distributed teams, and that actually increased the pace of digitalization across the industry. And two important things are there. One is that it is process-driven work has become an experience-driven work. So anything what you earlier used to say that, okay, this person has come at 9 o'clock and clocked the time till 5 o'clock and then went back, and during this time this has happened. That has changed completely. Now it is more about result-driven work, and for that digitalization is very important. And for customers also, now it is going to be, instead of coming to the shop floor and then finding which car will suit him, now there are companies of giving options of choosing the car over online. So
yeah, so I think we are in a situation where we're talking about cost reduction, we're talking about cost saving. Sharad, if you can throw some light in terms of, do you see the need for contractual hiring going up because of the roles getting restructured within the banking industry?
So Shiva, that's a very interesting question, because in our vertical, when we talk about the entire procurement and the corporate real estate world across the globe, the model anyways works at a 20-80 or a 30-70 kind of a ratio, where the large support comes from the contractual workforce. With this change happening, I would say that will get a little more direction. Why I say that is because we already have people on board who are, who've got skills of negotiations, who've got the skills of making planning, strategy, and all this stuff. Instead of getting more people on execution part, on roll. I would say getting more people on execution part as a partners would encourage on that. A couple of advantages: there'll be more flexibility. You'll get a better talent, and I think overall put together, it'll be more kind of like Ranjit said. It will be more kind of a result-oriented stuff. It will be more kind of a project-driven stuff rather than being like a mundane. Okay, fine. I come to work. I need to check my emails. I need to do some 4-5 stuff and then
So
move on.
does it mean that you're going to hire gig workers, some kind of short-term working, and they execute the project and move out?
I think it'll be a combination of both, is my view. And the way India is moving towards it, especially in these times, I think India will fast track a little more on those parts. There's a lot of talent available in the market. A lot of people now have started moving into a thought process of saying that I don't want to commit myself to someone. I would rather do a diversified work. I would rather enhance my skill by being associated to 4 or 5 different organizations over the period of 7, 8, 9 years, and then move on with something else.
Ranjit, do you think that you second the thought of Mr. Sharad, or you have a different view that the contractual hiring will not go up?
So in my view, at least whether it is followed or not, but what is more prudent for the organizations would be to have a combination of core work, which will be done by the direct employees, and then contract, which will be fixed term employment, and then contingency staff. This would be the model which industry will look into, considering the uncertainties and the changes in the industry which is happening. So in my view, the contracting should go up, and fixed term contract, government has made it a little more liberal nowadays to have fixed term employment also. So that also
so in continuation now, both of you second the thought that the contracting is going to go up on the technology space. There's a very interesting question that has come from one of the participants. Because of the future of electric cars or need for electric cars going up, do you see that from the technology landscape, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and these kind of skills, you see an upsurge?
Of course, I think my view is that all these skills like data and artificial intelligence, robotics will surely go up.
And what percentage? I mean, just a number?
I can't predict that as of now, but of course the world is changing, because in the recent survey, we saw that this connected autonomous cars demand will go up, and that will have big impact on all other aspects.
Sharad, if you can put some.
So yes, so yes, as a consumer, I would say I would agree with Ranjit. It's more both in terms of environmental push, in terms of cost efficiency, in terms of running costs coming around. And like I said, nowadays the generation which is coming up now, who are in their early 30s or late 20s, they are the guys who are getting more attracted. They're the guys who are getting more focused to it, and that will be the target audience in the next 4 to 5 years. We'll be investing a lot of stuff into this kind of stuff, whether it's technology, whether it's innovation and getting into new trials and all this stuff. And yes, I agree with Ranjit. I think we'll have to start thinking differently. Instantly, I was watching this movie 3 Idiots recently, and where they were talking about don't manufacture the the mechanics. Let's talk about the innovations. Let's talk. So that's very incidental. I just saw that recently, and I was able to correlate to what Ranjit was saying some time back.
Yeah, but given the scenario, do you think the banking industry will not allow for the transfer of employees, or they will continue to work from home? Do you think there is a possibility on that?
There is a strong possibility, and that is how it's been happening right now. We are very careful on getting people back to work. As far as work is getting done, as far as the targets, the SLAs, the productivity has been taken care of, we're pretty flexible on that. We are ensuring that people's safety, like Ranjit said earlier in the conversation, is the prime focus. We are not pushing people to come to work. We are saying, fine, there is a flexibility for you. You pick and choose. Office has also been taken care of accordingly. The spacing, the the social distancing, cleaning and all the stuff has been taken care of it. So it's yes, I would say for the next some more time. A lot of banks, I don't want to name, a lot of banks have already extended their work from home policies till the end of this year and all this stuff. So I think that is there. The fear that banking cannot be done by people sitting from home has gone. So I think that is the new direction which is opening up now.
Ranjit, you have any views on this? The work from home is going to continue for a while.
Yeah, sure. So come out of that, mindset of about to work from home. Now things are working fine, and people are comfortable. Even now, looking at how the future measurement of work would be, most of the progressive organizations will look at distributed working, and that will also mean some cost saving for the organization and time saving for the employees and productivity improvement for the team. This is going to continue.
Okay.
In my view, we were having this mindset, or we were very reluctant to allow employees to work from home. But now, wherever it is possible, we have understood that we can trust employees to work from home and continue to be doing well. So that has an impact, big impact. I think most of the organizations should move towards considering this as one of the benefits they can offer to employees.
So my question specific on again to you, Ranjit, is how has the shared transportation hit the traditional demand for passenger vehicles?
It was a threat for passenger vehicle sales, because if 5 people are traveling by one vehicle, and obviously the sales will come down. But in the current scenario, people would not be preferring that, considering the COVID situation. At least in the short term, there will be an impact on that. That shows in the sales of passenger vehicles also. If you look at what is selling more is the passenger vehicles than other public transport and shared. And most of the companies, like for example, taxi services, Hertz, one of the big companies in this space, has filed for bankruptcy. So this is going to be a short-term trend, but at least the companies which are able to survive, there could be a situation after the vaccination, etc. It might come back. But at the same time, people have decided to buy cars, and then in the future, if electric vehicles are going to come and if we can sell it at a lower cost, of course, passenger vehicle space will really grow.
Sharad, there are specific question to you, because since you emphasized that the digital transformation is going to take a leap jump within the IT market, do you see the contractual hiring, or there'll be an impact in the contractual hiring because of the digital wave, or overall hiring because of the digital transformation that organizations are going to bring in?
I don't think so, because like I mentioned earlier, that no matter how much innovation we do, the last mile has to be delivered by humans. It's the people who have to do it. So while there will be an innovation and a lot of stuff happening, the need would be for people to upskill themselves. They need to look at how the trends are changing, and if they want to be ready for tomorrow, they might have to invest some time right now in upskilling themselves. There are a lot of courses which are available online. In the last 4-5 months, we've seen a lot of more content coming on the web. Some of them is free, some of them is payable. So I think it's a time for people to starting upskilling themselves, that need to diversify their knowledge. They should diversify their areas. I do understand there will be a limitation between technical and non-technical, but non-technical also, I feel there's still a lot of scope to come up, because if they are able to understand the basics, I think they need to execute on the ground, which will be good for them.
Some very interesting question, especially related to bank. One question has come: how is the banking industry treating the current situation, or how is it treating the current situation different from 2008? I know it's got no relevance, but
Yeah, I know, and I don't think so. I'm an economist, so I should be able to, I will be able to answer that in that manner. But as a layman, I would say that there are two different stuff which we're talking about. That was a crisis. This is pandemic. So let's not correlate both of them. That was because of certain global initiatives or global stuff which happened. This is something which is happening, not only globally but regionally also. And as we have already seen in the last month, the surge in terms of spend going up. So I don't think so. I personally can't compare both of them. But like I said, not an economist, so please don't hold me for that answer.
Okay, fair call. Right. I know you guys, you are into hiring, you are into what you call within your scope. I know it's not relevant to ask the academic question, but since Ranjit is into large piece of hiring, day in and day out, Ranjit, if you can throw some light on how would the gig economy impact us overall, that will be great.
Yeah. So gig economy has two components to that. One is that low-skilled people who are on regular wages and the people who are high-skilled. So we need to, while we talk about that high, this is something which I think we should focus on. Skilled people who are confident about their skills to get a job continuously, to keep themselves engaged, and for achieving that, there should be a continuous upskilling and upgrading of the skills which is required. And in Indian context, it may not grow rapidly, but slowly and steadily it is picking up. And people are becoming open about not having a permanent job. They want to work with multiple employees at the same time. So this is slowly picking up. It will have an impact, but not a short-term thing. I think mid-term and long-term is we are going to.
So, sorry to interrupt. Since this is the last question, I want to spend a couple of more minutes because I was talking to the leadership of ENY, and they're doing a large portion on the gig economy, building the gig platform within Volvo. Are you seeing building those kind of platforms where people can come in, execute the work, and leave?
We have not thought about that as of now. We have been little conservative on this, and we have been looking at having a regular permanent employees for our core jobs, and at the same time skills which are not so critical for the organization, and also the knowledge which is supposed to be not carried forward for a longer time. So on those areas, we are open for gig workers.
Anything that you are saying, Sharath, you want to throw any light on the gig?
So I think from a banking point of view, it's very diverse, so we have technical stuff which needs to be done. We have a large workforce on sales, then we have support functions like us which is moving around, and like I mentioned, that it is more kind of mix and match, which we'll have to see and move around with that, rather than just saying simple yes or no right now. We not only we as a bank, but I think as an industry, I think everybody is self-assessing themselves to see how they want to open up, and like Ranjit said, it is towards conservative to an open approach right now. So I think it's not a straight answer right now, but how the things evolved in the last couple of months is something which may open up, and let's see how things happen across. And I personally believe every industry is interlinked. Nobody works in a silo. We are in a world where somebody needs money, somebody needs sales, somebody needs to buy, somebody needs to eat, somebody needs to do a lot of stuff. So it's an interconnected stuff. So if one pushes, the other pulls. The one pulls, the other pushes. So I think we'll have to wait and watch for some time.
All right. Before you go, gentlemen, I thank you very, very much. It was a very informative session that I spent. Thanks for your insights. Before you go, as you're aware, we are doing a marathon of webinars today in our Independence Day celebration. So I would like to introduce the next topic. I'm sure the link is already provided in the chat session. Our next topic is how can not-for-profit and for-profit organizations work together. And just to give you an intro about the session, we at Team Leads are working with organizations to identify the challenges posed by the pandemic and look at ways to address them together. So we would like to know how not-for-profit partners play a significant role in this by not just helping us increase in our reach, but also support the candidates in skilling and reskilling. I thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Sharad. Thank you, Ranjit. Look forward to talking to you again offline.
Thanks,
Sure,
Sharad.
Shiva. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Shiva.
much.
Thanks,
Take care,
everyone.
Ranjit.
Wonderful.
All the best.
Bye-bye. Take
Stay
care.
safe, stay at home.
Stay safe, and happy Independence Day.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi all. We have entered the current session.
I mean, Virat, I understand that.
We have entered the current session. So we request you all to join the next session.
Virat, I understand.
Sorry. We have ended the current session wherever you are in this Zoom window. So kindly look into the chat. So we have pasted the link of the next session, which is already live. So we request you to go to that particular link and watch the session live. And the session is about NGO being a part of creating jobs for the youth in the country. Kindly have a look. Kindly participate in the session. Ask your questions, and over there, the panelists will be answering it. Thank you.